about how I'm going to start posting some dates for projects. So start thinking about a book or some subject that you would like to learn more about 20th century. Okay, you all have different interests. Okay, read something you're interested in. Now, some of you guys will put this off, and you will wind up pulling something off my shelf that you're not interested in. Okay, which is fine. Maybe you get interested in it after reading it. I don't know. Okay, I do have some books I'll put out that you can look through if you want. But I do this so that you can read something that you enjoy. Okay? All right. So I could have you all read the same book, which I don't like doing, because I don't want to read the same paper 50 times. Yes? Okay. All right. So what were we talking about yesterday? We were talking about Harding's administration, right? We wanted to cut taxes. We wanted to tariffs, right? Remember the tariffs? Okay. And if you hadn't checked out yesterday's video, I don't know if I mentioned this in the video 3 years ago, but I think I probably did, that you might need to be able to explain to me on the test. Did I mention that?
Yeah.
Okay. The economic impact of America not buying foreign goods. When we don't buy goods from other countries because we are such consumers of goods, they have a hard time making money to buy our goods. This is an economic impact of American trade. Okay, so yes, if you need me to re-explain that to you at a later date, that's fine. Okay, now one of the problems coming out of World War I. Let me just back up and get my mind right. Okay, we did that. Okay. Okay. And veterans help for veterans, right? Okay. The bonus bill is the adjusted compensation. It's the same thing. Okay. All right. Now, during World War I, the United States did choose sides before we got involved in 1917, right? It started in 1914. And we were helping the Allies. Okay, we loaned them $9 billion. Okay, some of that was in the way of supplies, okay, weapons, food, all kinds of stuff, okay? The Allies received reparations from the Treaty of Versailles against Germany, okay? So Germany was blamed for the war. They had to pay reparations. Massive, I'll show you in a second. The only way for Germany to pay the Allies was to borrow from us. And then the Germany would pay the Allies, and the Allies would turn around and give the money we just gave Germany back to us. It's a merry-go-round. So I did a nice infographic. Check this out. Okay? During the war, we loaned them $9 billion. Okay? There's Germany. After the war, the Treaty of Versailles punished Germany so they could never do this again. $33 billion. Now remember, the United States had a separate treaty with Germany. We were not part of this. Okay? So, out of the goodness of our hearts, we decide to give Germany some post-World War I loans. Okay? I'm trying. Yes?
When you said that the Treaty of Versailles punished Germany, that ever again with the big punishment?
For starting World War I. They blamed them for the war. Okay? Now, there was a lot of blame to go around, but the victors go the spoils, okay? So they get to decide, all right, the terms of the end of the war, the treaty at the end of the war, okay? And Germany really wasn't in a position to negotiate. So we help out Germany, who's in really bad shape, by the way. So the money goes from us to Germany to the Allies, and then we get some of it back. but we're still owed money. You understand? Sum total, we're maybe breaking even. Okay. Now, only one of the Allied countries paid us back. Eventually, guys, we are going to forgive these debts. Okay. Now, when the Depression hits in the 1930s, these countries, these European countries still owe us money. I mean, we will say, okay, listen, for 1 year, we won't make you pay anything. And it still didn't help. So when the Depression hit, a lot of the European countries blamed us because we were forcing them to pay what they borrowed from us. And Calvin Coolidge, who would later be president, he said, you know, they borrowed the money, didn't they? They need to pay it back. Okay, but eventually, because of the Depression, we just said, you know what, forget it. Okay? So that takes us to the death of Harding. Okay? So, guys, by the way, a couple of things. Tariffs will be a cause of the Great Depression. War debts will be another cause of the Great Depression. And in fact, you could say that war debts are also a cause of what? World War II. Okay, guys, this is where we learn from history. Okay, I'm going to do a little foreshadowing here. Listen, after World War II, who did we blame for the war? Again, Germany. Okay, now, Germany's going to be split in half after World War II. West Germany and East. East Germany's with Russia, the communists. Okay, and West Germany's with the rest of Europe and the United States, basically, Britain and France. Okay, so did we punish Germany after World War II? No, no. Instead, we invested in Germany. We helped Germany. And this is after the Nazis, guys. This is after, you know, tens of millions of people died from their actions, and Hitler and the Holocaust and all that. We're going to invest in Germany, West Germany. We offered help to East, but they didn't take it. Okay? So, guys, we learn our lesson. This is going to be one of the direct causes of the Second World War. Guys, they are going to punish Germany so bad. It's going to destroy their economy. When you don't have this money, what do? You print it. And when you print money, German marks, like they're going out of style. Eventually, you're going to have what's called what? Inflation. So if you're an older person that saved, you know, say 100,000 German marks for your retirements when you could no longer work, you had that money in the bank. And then all of a sudden, the government just starts printing money. I mean, literally, when they said you had to bring a wheelbarrow full of cash into the store to buy a loaf of bread, that's not an exaggeration. So your 100,000 marks that's in the bank now is worth a couple loaves of bread. Okay? This punishment, this vindictiveness against Germany will be the cause of the rise of Adolf Hitler and a cause of the war itself. Okay? So we got to learn our lessons here. You know what I mean? That was a bad move. But France, see, the French, remember I mentioned earlier the Franco-Prussian War? Back at the end of the 19th century, okay? The French were just sick and tired of the Germans, you know what I mean? And they said, we're just going to punish them. We're not going to let them ever rise again. People have a funny way of doing that. All right, sorry, I got off track there a little bit. But again, the relevance to, you know, why we study history, okay? Oh, the death of Harding. Okay, so did I mention that he was, all the scandals, the Ohio gang, right? And so he's out there deflecting these issues. These guys were really making him look bad. And Harding's not really a bad guy. Okay, he's not corrupt. It's just his friends. Okay, and so he's out working. He's campaigning. He's out talking to people, and he's overdoing. He's got walking pneumonia. He's up in Northern California. He goes up a big flight of stairs, collapses on the bed, and dies. They do an autopsy. Okay, and he had an enlarged heart. They didn't know it, and he worked himself to death, and he was sick. Okay, Now, who's the vice president? Calvin Coolidge, okay? Remember, Coolidge was the guy that was the governor of Massachusetts that called in the National Guard when the Boston police went on strike. That's how he made a name for himself. Okay, so Coolidge, the vice president, is actually in Massachusetts on his father's farm when Harding dies in California. Okay, they're going to bring Harding's body back on a train all the way back from California. And Americans all along the tracks, the train tracks, will line the tracks paying the respect to the deceased president. Okay, it's kind of a cool, story there. Now, you ready for a story? Okay, story time. Okay, Calvin Coolidge, who's nicknamed Silent Cow. He's on the farm. His mom's passed away by this time. So it's just him and his dad out on the family farm in rural Massachusetts, okay? Now, there's no electricity. Okay, we don't get rural electrification until like the 1940s, late 30s, 40s, okay? And so there's a knock on the door in the middle of the night, okay? So Calvin gets up, answers the door. It's a telegraph guy. He's got a message for the vice president. He says, Mr. Vice President, this is for you. And he reads it. And he says, the president has died in California. And he's like, oh, man. So he talks to his dad. He's like, okay, well, we'll get up in the morning and I'll head back to D.C., okay? But about 30 minutes later, there's a knock on the door. And it's the telegraph guy again. You need to be sworn in as President of the United States. We don't have one. Now, if you're going to swear the President of the United States in, you have to have a witness. And we've always done it on a Bible, right? And there's, certain words that you say. I swear to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and so forth, right? So the telegraph's got that verbiage in it. And so under candlelight, because there's no electricity, under candlelight on a family Bible, Calvin Coolidge will be sworn in. Now, you need a judge or somebody like that, a justice of the peace. His father is the notary. You guys know what a notary public is? Like if you ever need a document that needs to be notarized, makes it official, okay? Debbie Beaker, who is Miss Nielsen's secretary, she is a notary if you ever need one. Don't tell her I told you, okay? It's an official stamp. His father is a notary. So under candlelight, on the family farm, on a family Bible, Calvin Coolidge is sworn in as President of the United States by his father. And the witness is the telegraph delivery guy. And that's how he became president. Okay. Good story? Good story. Okay. All right. Well, you guys remember when John F. Kennedy was assassinated? Well, I know you don't remember. But when he was, Lyndon Baines Johnson, the vice president, was sworn in actually on Air Force One, okay, which there were cameras there and stuff. So. Pretty interesting stuff, okay? All right, so, hey, we're going to get on. We're going to keep it cool with Coolidge. Silent Cow. One guy once said, Silent Cow opened his mouth and a moth flew out. He did not like giving speeches. He did not like to talk. He's a pretty silent guy, okay? Which is interesting because he was the first guy, the first president to go out over the radio wave, okay? The Jazz Age. Oh, this is a fun time, okay? Now I'm going to send you a video to watch if you want to watch it. It's good, okay? I can't take the class time to do it, guys. I'm sorry. I'd love nothing more than a day off to show a video, but, because my head's spinning like yours is. But I'm not giving you any homework other than watching my videos, okay? So, all right. And I think you guys are doing a pretty good job. So thank you, and please keep that up, okay? All right, new products for living. This is cool stuff, right? So I like to describe this like, if you had to be a decade, pick a decade in American history to be a teenager or in your 20s, okay? Don't pick 2020, okay? But some people would say like the 60s, you know, sex, drugs, rock and roll. I mean, obviously there was great music. If you want to be a hippie, you know. But the 20s, guys, now, we classify that. If you were white, okay? Now, did black people have a great time in the 20s as well? Hell yeah, they did, okay? Now, the rights were not protected well. They were victims of violence and hate. Not all of them, of course, but that was always there. You know what I mean? It's always there. So let's quantify that a little bit, okay? Now, I love this, okay? One of the reasons I saved this book was not just for Sacco and Vanzetti, okay, but was for the introduction to this chapter, which I just love the way they describe it, okay? The 1920s. So if you'll indulge me, I'm going to read you just a couple paragraphs, okay? Yeah, I'm over here. Okay. Now, in the 1920s, the sound of radios and phonographs began to fill the air. For the first time, motion pictures opened fantastic vistas for the millions. Americans started their love affair with the automobile. Women's skirts, which had once been thought dangerously high when they revealed a glimpse of the ankle, suddenly shot up to the knee. Long hair had been called a woman's crowning glory. Now respectable women cut their hair in a boyish bob and actually wore lipstick. Some even smoked cigarettes in public. Can you imagine? At the same time, there were still many old-fashioned Americans. They were shocked by what they saw. Women, they said, ought to be put on a pedestal where they had neither the freedom nor the temptations of the rest of the human race. In this and other ways, the 20s was an age of conflict, confusion, excitement, and experiment. Never was the nation more American, where we were still the new world, where people might try anything at least once. Okay? So it was an exciting time, especially for young people. Okay? The inventions, the automobile really becoming accessible to the masses. So it was affordable to the middle class, you understand, right? Now, a lot of that is buy now, pay later. We're really good at that in this country, okay? So, give you some pictures here, okay? So Model A, Model T, right? You come out with those, they mass produce, okay? This is a 1920s GE toaster, okay? So basically you got these little handles here, you flip it up, throw your bread in there, and it toasts your bread, okay? They come up with the pop-up ones later, okay? Other advances here, okay? I'm going to talk about all these things. So, like, I went to the movies Saturday, okay? It's like, hey, did you know the theaters are open? You guys know that? Okay. I went and saw Infidel, okay? You guys remember that talk I did on terrorism with you? You know what I'm saying? So I like that kind of stuff. So that was pretty good. I give it, you go 5 stars, I go 3.5. It was all right. It's pretty good. All right. But guys, okay, so think about this. You guys have all seen a picture of the Eiffel Tower, right? You ever seen the Eiffel Tower in a movie, probably? Okay. But imagine the only time you've ever seen a picture of the Eiffel Tower is in a book or a magazine. It's just a picture, right? Now you can actually like see the beach and the Eiffel Tower in film, and like the water's moving. You know what I mean? You've never been to the beach. Never been to the coast. Okay, you see that. Okay, it really freaked people out at the beginning. You know what I mean? Seeing people on the screen and things moving around. It was weird. Okay, and then they added sound. And now, you know, a lot of times especially the silent films. There's a great history of film in this country. Some of the early ones. There was one called Wings. One of the most famous was, it's in the video. Yeah, I'm getting old. It'll come to me. Okay. But film, it really takes off. The radio guys, so this really opens up music, okay? When you get the radio. You guys know what a phonograph is? What's a phonograph? It's a record player. Yeah, okay, here, I'll show you one. That's phonograph, okay? Now, the cool thing about these phonographs, guys, is it's vinyl, okay? It's a record. Any of you guys have these at your house still? Okay. I got a great album collection that I've kept when I was in high school. You know, Kiss, Kiss Alive 2. I got Led Zeppelin. I got Beatle albums. I got REO Speedway. You know, I got just everything from that era. Okay. Pink Floyd. Yeah. So these things you could record your voices on. Okay. So like you could turn it both ways and do a record. Okay. Which you remember the first time you heard yourself in a voicemail when you recorded a voicemail for your phone? You're like, I sound weird. Okay. This is the first time people have ever done this. Okay. And this is available to the masses. All right. So this was a big deal. And this is obviously the mic or the speaker. Okay. And you got to wind that thing. Okay. And sometimes you wind it too fast and it plays faster, you know, or too slow. And, okay. You guys ever hear about playing records backwards? You ever hear about that? That was a thing in the 80s and 90s. Okay. And like subliminal messages that people put on the back of their albums when you play them backwards. Creepy stuff. Now you guys have heard of Queen, right? Bohemian Rhapsody, yes. They have a song called Another One Bites the Dust, right? Play that song backwards on the 45. And there's a message on it. I love marijuana. You know, it sounds really creepy. Now, Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, okay? You just send chills up your spine, okay? Because it's like, it talks about the devil and stuff. And it's like, I remember sitting in a room with my friends in high school doing that on the turntable. It's like, oh gosh! Freaking, look at this refrigerator. This is a 1920s refrigerator. This is the cooling apparatus up here. The rest of it's just basically a cooler, right? With insulation, all right? I actually saw one of these in West Virginia. My in-laws lived there, and we went to a friend of theirs' house, and they had one in the basement just like this. And I'm like, whoa, that's cool. I said, can I look at it? She goes, sure. I opened it, still worked. She said it had been rebuilt, this part, during World War II, or after the war, and it was still working. They don't make them like they used to. Okay. Now, what did you do before you had refrigerators? How did you keep stuff cold? How did you like preserve your like?
Did you put salt on it?
You could put salt on your meat. That might help preserve it, but it's not going to keep it cold. Yeah. People would can food, right? But what they would do, especially, you know what they like to drink in the South? What's their favorite drink, right? Sweet tea, right? And you know about Southern hospitality? You heard of that? That's a real thing, by the way. Okay, I used to live in the South, and people in the South are nice. When I moved to Wichita, because I lived in the South for a long time, when I moved to Wichita, I'm like, man, these people are rude. Now, Wichitans are not near as rude as people in Chicago. You know what I mean? So there's levels. Okay, but people in the South are nice. I mean, you walk down the street, you wave. You're in your car, you drive by somebody, you wave. You do that in the country around here some. Okay, but in the city, like I'm in my neighborhood. I'm in a suburban neighborhood, and I'm driving into my neighborhood. This is like the first week I'm living here. I see somebody walking on the sidewalk, and of course I'm in my truck. I'm waving. okay? And they just ignored me. These people are rude. Nobody would do that in the South. They're going to acknowledge you, okay? So you want to have some friends over. Southern hospitality, it's 1900, okay? You're in hot Atlanta, Georgia, and it's humid and hot, and you're going to have people over have iced tea, serve them iced tea. Well, how are you going to do that? So you dig a hole in the backyard called a cellar, okay? And every winter, the Iceman comes. Where's the Iceman come from? The north, where the rivers and lakes freeze. And they cut these into blocks of ice, and they ship them on railroads and trucks down to the south. You dig a hole in your backyard, nice, hopefully, and you put the underground, okay? You guys know the basement's always cooler, right? Right? So same thing here, but you're going to put something over the ice to insulate it so it doesn't melt, and don't say salt because that's what you put on your driveway to get rid of the ice, remember? Okay, so they don't put salt on the ice. What do they put on the ice? Sawdust. Okay, so you want to serve tea, so you get your ice pick out, you go down the cellar and chip off the old block. You heard that saying before? Chip off the old block of ice, okay? And put it in there, you're probably going to have some sawdust with your iced tea, but people were used to it, okay? I love refrigerators, right? Who wants to live like that? Okay. Washing machines, irons, toasters, all this stuff, guys, by the millions, okay? This is going to create millions of jobs. People are going to gain wealth and comfort and so forth. So we get medical advances. Many diseases brought under control. Typhoid fever, diphtheria, the measles. Okay? Now, these could all kill you. Okay? Mostly with the fever that accompanies them. Okay? Now, diphtheria affects your esophagus. Okay? Your esophagus swells and you can't swallow. Okay, so people get dehydrated, and then they get fevers and they die. Okay, now with the measles, we get the vaccination in 1964. Okay, and I can pretty much guarantee there's only one person in this room that's had the measles. That would be me when I was 5. Okay, any of you guys had chicken pox? So none of you even had chicken pox. You don't have those little scars on your body like I do. Okay. Measles is like chicken pox on steroids. Okay. It's nasty. Sores covering your body. Okay. Chicken pox can be pretty bad too, but measles usually accompanies a fever. So we really don't want that to happen again. Okay. This is why vaccines can be important. And when you have people that won't take vaccines, you see outbreaks of the measles, like there was in Disneyland a couple of years ago. Kinsley, my son's girlfriend, she's a cheerleader. They were in Dallas, and there was a big cheerleading thing. Measles outbreak. Okay, so I don't know how you feel about vaccines. I'm not trying to make a political statement. Okay, I'm just saying that it's what was basically eradicated is no longer eradicated. Okay, now we definitely can't do that with the smallpox. We don't want that one back, okay? Smallpox does exist on this planet, but only in, I think, 2 laboratories in the world? 1 lab in Russia and 1 in the United States, okay? Now, I think we still get vaccinated for smallpox, do we? I don't know. Anybody a doctor in here? Okay. Anybody know a doctor? Okay. All right, life expectancy. Look at this. I mean, this is 1860. Okay, I would be dead. Okay, but look at the rise here. So the decade of the 1920s, you see an increase in life expectancy of almost like 6 or 7 years. Okay, so I mean, living conditions are better. There's more food than we've ever had before. Okay, and then medical advances. things get better, and you can see. Now, I don't know if I told this class this or not. There was a month last year where life expectancy actually decreased by a couple of days. Okay, so we're kind of starting to hit a plateau with life expectancy. Okay, we'll see what comes next as far as medical advances go and so forth, but we're starting to hit a plateau. All right? Now, some countries, people live longer than others. We don't live as long as some other countries. Okay, Americans spent more money on education than the rest of the world combined in 1929. Free public education, K through 12. Throw into that a massive university and college system that we have in this country. I mean, just look at Kansas, how many colleges, junior colleges, and four-year schools we have in this state. It's crazy. Okay, so we're spending a ton on education. All right, so this is going to really help propel us into the future. You're going to have 25, 35. Wow. Okay, now guys, I apologize. This is really dated. This is 1995. Okay, I should probably update it. But you can see male and female. Okay, Japanese people live the longest. Why is that? What do you know about Japanese culture that would make them live longer? The food that they eat is going to be a big one, right? So they eat a lot of fish, rice. Like that's where sushi comes from, right? Japan, not China. Japan. What? The what is? Yeah, they don't eat a lot. So they're not obese. Not most of them. Okay? Which we have a serious problem with that in our country, right? In the United States. By the way, today, this morning, 199. Stepped on the scale. 199. Okay? In the shutdown, like the lockdown, I hit 224. You know, when you bend over to tie your shoes and you like lose your breath because your gut's pushing up to the bones, that's when you know it's time to do something. Okay? I'm shooting for 185. That's my married weight. I think actually my married weight was 205. I don't know. But anyhow, 185. Okay? That way I can like have a fun weekend and not have to worry about ballooning back up. You know what I mean? So, sorry, I didn't mean to talk about myself. All right, guys, this is a golden age. This is so much fun. All right, obviously alcohol is illegal, right? So you're going to break the law, and you're going to go to the illegal bars called speakeasies, yes? And it makes it more fun because it's illegal and everybody's breaking the law together, and it's a hoot, okay? Now, the alcohol is awful, and it's not great tasting. If it's grain alcohol or corn alcohol or something like that, a lot of times they're going to water it down anyways, just to make more of it, okay? So it's not good, okay? And of course you have flappers, right? I think at some point you probably learned about flappers. Have you?
Yes.
Seems like everybody knows about that, okay? Short hair, short skirts. This is a sexual revolution, guys, where women really start to push the limits of, you know, kind of the expectations of how they dress, how they behave, and so forth. You guys read the Gatsby, right? Yeah, okay, so you know all about that. All right, but people are really pushing the limits, okay, which is exciting. The music, guys, is awesome. Okay, now I don't know if any of your parents raised you right and taught you about classical rock. Okay, so you guys heard of Led Zeppelin?
Yeah.
Okay, now you got the Rolling Stones, right? You heard of them? Okay, you heard of the Beatles? Okay, probably considered among the 3 top ever rock and roll bands ever. Okay, all of them are are seriously impacted by the music of this age, okay, especially the blues, okay, but jazz and ragtime as well. So with the great music that we're getting, okay, and also, guys, the assignment I'll give you will probably deal a little bit with like the Harlem Renaissance. So in Harlem, where there was a lot of African Americans living, it was really quite middle class. Okay, it wasn't like lower class; it was middle class, and so people, I mean, everybody dressed nice. It was, and they would go to the clubs, the Cotton Club, and others. And here, these incredible musicians like Duke Ellington. Okay, I mean, these people are ahead of their time. Okay, and so that influenced the rest of the country. Okay, African American music, which a lot of it descends from the age of slavery. Okay, the soul, the gospel music is has had such an influence moving forward. I mean, if you listen to R&B today, you know, it's all over. Okay, so some of that stuff's great. The video I'll send out, guys, has a lot of the music in it. Okay, and it's pretty good. Sports. Okay, so for the first time, really, guys, what we're seeing is we have leisure time and discretionary income. So, like, you're done paying your bills. Oh, look, I have money left over. Let's go do something. Let's be entertained. And how do we entertain ourselves? Well, with music and sports. Okay, so this is the heyday of college football, not just college football, Notre Dame football. We got any Notre Dame fans in here? Oh, I thought we were in a Catholic school. What? Did you? How many guys have ever seen the movie Here I Go Again? Rudy. Thank you. Should they see Rudy? Yeah. It's a great movie. Okay, Rudy Rudiger. Okay, he's the ultimate underdog. He goes to school, and I think in Indiana, Ohio, or some coal mining family. His dream in life is to play football at Notre Dame. Okay, he's like this big. Okay, it's played by Sam Gamgee from Lord of the Rings. You guys know Sam Gamgee? Lord of the Rings? You haven't seen Lord of the Rings? Have you? That girl. Yeah, Grace?
No, but it's on my list.
I don't. I
No,
see
no,
what
no,
it is. It's
no,
just-
no.
No, like the movie, like I went to my brother's and it was on. It had creepy goblins, and I was like, "What is this?" And a lot of gruesome fighting in it. It's 20 minutes.
Yeah, we saw like about 20 minutes of it.
Dude, we have like 9-hour sessions at my house. You've seen it.
Yeah.
You like it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to read the books first, and then I'll watch it.
Okay. So good. Now, I used to be into Star Wars, but I'm not as much anymore. But, okay.
Grace, you might want to watch the movie first. It'll help you understand.
So Notre Dame football, and the most famous person on Notre Dame football was the coach. His name was Knute Rockne or Knute Rockne. Okay. There's a rest area north of here where is close by where the plane he was flying in crashed, where he died. He died in Kansas from a plane crash, and they kind of have like a memorial at one of the rest stops up here on one of the the ones in the middle of the highway. Yeah, on the turnpike. Okay. Baseball, America's pastime. Okay. Look at this. To the Yankee Clippers, man. This is Babe Ruth. Everybody's heard of Babe Ruth, right? Right? Lou Gehrig. Okay, Lou Gehrig is the guy, Lou Gehrig's disease, which is ALS. Remember the ALS challenge where people dumping ice water on their heads? Okay, that disease is named after him. Okay. Famously, when he found out how sick he was with ALS and he was going to have to retire from baseball early, he had lived an incredible life, one of the greatest players of all time, and he's the one that gave that speech in front of Yankee Stadium, and he says, "I consider myself to be the luckiest man on the face of the earth, even knowing that he's got just months to live for what he's experienced in his life. It's just an emotional thing. And then the Babe, man, number 3. He was incredible. He was bigger than the sport. Larger than life character. That lineup, they called Murderers Row. The 1927 Yankees, maybe the best team ever assembled. Okay, so if you were a pitcher and you had to throw against these batters, you were in for a long day. Okay. They started games at 3:30 because they didn't have lights. So people would come from work dressed nice. They're wearing dresses and top hats and suits. Have you guys ever been to a Royals game? Like in the summertime when it's hot? You get that swamp ass going on there? You know what I'm saying? You're wearing shorts. You know, it's hot. You're sweating. You're like, ugh. Can you imagine wearing a suit? Okay, now ladies, you get to wear dresses. That's probably a little cooler, but geez. All right. And then boxing is huge. Big. I mean, look at this. This one here. Dempsey fights Gene Tunney in front of 120,000 people. Golf was huge. Any golfers in here? She's playing golf. Greatest game ever played. The Legend of Bagger Vance. Some great early, like 1920s, early 20th century golf movies. Fabulous. And then, of course, this man, Charles Lindbergh. Okay. At the time, in 1927 to probably about 1935, probably the most famous person on the planet. Okay, who do you think the most famous person on the planet is right now in 2020? That if you go to the Congo or China or South Africa or Canada, everybody knows this person. Donald Trump, LeBron James. Remember when Michael Jackson, I don't know if you remember when he was alive, the pop star? Okay, he was one that like everybody knew. Michael Jordan, right? I mean, people like Michael Jordan. And he was worldwide. He's a household name. When he flew from New York to Paris, he was an international hero overnight. Okay? It was an amazing feat. You imagine staying awake for 33 and a half hours. I know you probably stayed up 24 hours before. But you're trying to fly a plane by yourself. There's no windshield. So you have to stick your head out the side of the plane to look out the front. Okay? That's in the Smithsonian, that plane, the Spirit of St. Louis. Okay? Great story. I'll see you guys on Friday. Okay. I'll send you some stuff on Canvas, maybe a video to watch. And if I do assign homework, guys, I won't make it do till next week. Okay? But if I have time, I might give you an assignment. But I'll give you time.
See you next week. Thank you.
Have a great weekend, guys. It's third. Oh, wait. I'll see you Friday. Sorry. Not you. Sorry, I'm confused. It happens a lot.